Hi, welcome friends. This is Molly Shaw with Professor B Math. Today I'm excited to introduce to you our final strategy called long division. This is the long way, truth-telling way to teach kids to do long division. Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen something like this? I mentioned in my last video that sometimes this is the skill that kids who think they're doing pretty well in math up through the third grade or so, they hit this and then they're like, I don't understand why the order makes sense. They're beginning to struggle. This is an algorithmic or formula way to teach long division. It works, but do the kids fully comprehend the concept behind long division? There's two aspects to teaching math. There is algorithmic or formulaic, like the example we just saw, and then there's conceptual. Professor B is predominantly a conceptual approach. Kids who are able to derive their own formulas once they understand the concept and can actually find 2 or 3 different ways to get to it are actually better math thinkers than kids who simply memorize the formulas. Even if they have some understanding of the concept behind it, it's not going to be fully integrated. Dr. Barrett's program works by building conceptually where the new concept grows and develops out of the previous one. And this is how our brains recall things. It's through associations and connections. So this is such a powerful approach. I'm so excited to introduce to you today the long division strategy. And I think you're going to be surprised. Every time I do this in like teacher trainings, the teacher's like, I have never seen anything like this. And I think you're going to be just as enthusiastic about it too. So enjoy the long division strategy and I'll talk to you afterwards. Hello, my friends. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about long division, how to introduce it to kids. A lot of kids struggle with this one. They get to it in their progression and suddenly there's a lot of steps to remember and they start getting a little bit confused. And I want to show you how Professor Barrett introduces this. He had a brilliant system and it's described here in the middle level book 2, Mathematics Power Learning for Children. And I want to just actually show you the page where he talks about it because I think it's really, really helpful for you just to see the layout of the program and see how it's going to really make math teaching very easy for you and very engaging. And it's going to help you understand that this is a book that you don't already have to have a math background to teach it because it's got exactly what to say, exactly what to put on the board, and spelled out for you so simply. Dr. Barrett has a fun approach. It's a unified response. He calls it. It's where the kids have to answer lots of questions and anticipate what you're about to say, and they have to do a lot of the talking. And so you'll notice as we go through this little strategy I want to teach you today that you're going to be asking the kids a lot of questions, and they are going to be following along and answering and chanting and tapping and talking, and it's a real animated kind of a fun interaction. So before we introduce long division, he does a little lesson on what he calls the appreciation of long division. And he'll have you write on the board the problem to 25 divided by 2. And you can see where he says, write on the board. And he tells you what to write. And then he also wants them to be writing on their own paper as well and mirroring and imitating exactly what you're doing. And he asks them to figure out how many 2s there are in 25. And he's going to invite them to just take them out one at a time. So he's going to expect the kids to do something like this. Okay, can we get a 2 out of 20? Are there 2 in 25? Yes. How would we take the first 2 out? Well, we would subtract. Good job. So then we subtract 2. And we have 23 left. Can we get 2 more? Yes, we can. Can we get 2 more? Yes, we can. Keep going, keep going, keep going. and have them find out how many 2s they can remove from 25 using this repeated subtraction method. Let's see if I can get the camera here. We can see the bottom. All right. How many 2s is that? The kids can literally count them. They can say, okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 2s in 25. And so we can show them that we can write the quotient at the top, the answer to this question, that there's 12 2s in 25. Very good. He leads you through a series of these activities. You can see on the page here. He says, try it with how many 3s there are in 50. They will systematically, without too much overthinking it, work through and figure out that they can subtract 16 3s from 50, and they'll have 2 left over. You do this a couple of more times, but then you throw this at them. And you say, what about this number? How many 34s are there in 94,671? All right, so have them start. Have them subtract 34 again and again. And he says in here, try not to smile and try not to laugh. And then begin to ask them, do you think you're going to be finished soon? Well, you think in about 10 more minutes, you'll figure out how many 34s? Would it be a half hour long enough? Would it take you a month to finish this? Or would you like to learn a shortcut? So again, you're setting them up to understand conceptually that when we use the shortcut, we are simply doing a series of subtractions of the divisor over and over again. Conceptually, this is a really cool lesson to introduce to your kids. And then he gets into the main lesson. So let's see how he introduces the long division algorithm. He has a few prerequisites here. He wants the kids to know their basic place value, tens, hundreds, ones. They can identify them by sight. If you compare two numbers, they know which is bigger or smaller. They can subtract with regrouping. They should know their multiplication facts. They should be able to do rapid mental multiplication, especially by powers of 10. So things like 37 times 10 or 4 times 10,000. Those should be easily understood. And if they're progressing through the program, there will be no problem. They will have those nailed down. They should have a few other things. And if they have these prerequisites in place, then they're going to be ready to launch this great strategy. So they are going to have their own paper. They are going to also be recording the problem as you go along on theirs. And you're going to write actually a word problem on the board. Your principal has $275 and wishes to buy some workbooks for her school. How many can she buy if the cost of each book is $4? Now you're going to write the problem on the board. 4 $275. And you're going to tell them that the 4 is called the divisor. You're going to teach them the term dividend for $275. You're going to, at this point, review the place value. You're going to say, what is the name of this place? The 5 is in the ones place. This is ones, tens, hundreds. And you're going to explain to them that you're going to teach them a question for each place. They are going to have a question for each value in the dividend, and they have to learn how to ask each one of these questions. So when you point to the hundreds, you're going to teach them to ask this question: can I buy 100 books? when you point to the tens place, you're going to teach them to ask the question, can I buy 10 books? And when you point to the ones place, they're going to say, can I buy 1 book? You're going to tap and have the kids literally ask these questions. So you're going to tap the 5, and they're going to say, how many ones? How many, can I buy 1 book? Tap the hundreds. Can I buy 100 books? Because again, the story is your principal has $275 and wants to buy workbooks. And so you're asking, can we buy 100? Can we buy 1? Can we buy 10? Until that becomes memorized and learned very, very easily. Okay. And so now we're going to actually look at the problem and ask the question, how much is 100 books? So on their paper, you're going to point to this and say, can we buy 100 books? How much is 100 books? And you're going to have them write to the side, 100 books times $4 per book is $400. Do we have $400 in our hundreds place? We don't. We can't buy 100 books. So optional, if you want, you can put a little X to hold that place. If you would like to, you can leave it blank. Or you can actually do something like I like to do, is I can say, well, there's 0 hundreds in this answer. So you're going to have them write the 400 to the side. And the book kit shows him just writing it here to the side of the problem. I like to have them actually write out the calculation that helps them understand exactly that it's $4. 100 books is $400, and they can see it and compare. All righty. Since the learner cannot buy 100 books, then we're going to move to the tens and ask the same question. Can we buy 10 books? We have to figure out how much that would be. How much would 10 books cost? 10 books at $4 a book would be $40. Can we have $40 compared to $275? What do you think? Can we buy 10 books? Yes, I think we probably can. So we can think about, again, when they're very young. If I'm introducing this to like a second grader or even a first grader, I may actually have them start subtracting 40s multiple times again, just to reinforce that first lesson. We can take them out one at a time and find how many. Or we can think about our multiplication facts and ask how many 40s are in this number. And the way he kind of asks it here, let's see. What are the maximum tens of books that each learner can buy? What are the maximum number of tens? You could say, well, could we buy 20? Yes, we could. Well, they might immediately say, hey, we can get at least 2 80s because I know 2 80s is 160. You can say, okay, well, how many would that be? That would be 40. Well, we still have quite a bit left. Why don't we jump up and try? Can we do 60? How many would that buy? Okay, can we get 70? Oh, compare. 280 is more than 275. So our answer is that we can purchase 60. So I have the kiddos subtract the cost for the 60 books. That's $240. So I say, let's go ahead and buy those and take that money out of the bank. Again, the more times you mention the story, the more times you talk about the workbooks, the more clear the concept is. I have them record the 60 that we just purchased above the hundreds that we couldn't purchase. And so they can see the progression. And then you subtract. Now we've asked our tens question. How many tens of books can we buy? And then I'll point to the last place and say, what's our last question? What's our ones question again? How many single books can we buy? Well, your kids may be sharp and go, 4 times 10 is 40. So it's got to be a little bit less than that, right? And so you're going to see if you can elicit, is the term that he uses in the book, how many fours there are. And they should be able to say 4 times 8 would be 32 books, right? $32. So 8 books, I said that wrong. 8 books is $32. So it costs $32 to get 8 books. So we're going to record our 8 up here at the top. We're going to take the $32 out of the bank. And how many dollars do we have left over? We have $3. So how many books did we buy? Well, we bought no hundreds, but we bought 6 tens, and then we bought 8 singles. And so how many books altogether does that make? That's 68 books is our answer. We have $3 left over in the bank. Moving on, you're going to begin to introduce more of these problems with different types of complexity. And in each case, you're going to have them do them together with you on the board. When I'm teaching this with a group of kids, I like to ask them to begin asking the questions or anticipate what I'm about to ask. So I'll say, what am I going to ask next? And or what should we do? Oh, let's go ahead and take that money out of the bank now. Yes. And should we write something down? Oh yeah, we should write this at the top, how many that we purchased, until they are literally talking and asking the questions through the process multiple times. So this is your practice set. These are the 9 problems you're going to put on the board. Work with them, tapping, asking the right questions, helping them. The other cool thing is make up a verbal problem for each example. You may not buy books. You may buy something else. But I love the picture of the bank in the box because the money is very simple to understand. And I love going through the money example of the money in the bank, but maybe we're buying chairs or maybe we're buying pencils or something different, and let them be creative and come up with their own story. Later on, when we get into some of these larger problems, I like for them to make up like fleas on a dog, or, the sillier the story, it stimulates brains in multi-sensory ways and really engages them in conceptual understanding even better. So again, you're going to be leading them through the questions and following that process that we just talked about. This is the long division strategy. And when kids are introduced to it in this fashion, they do not get confused. They remember the concept about what we're doing and how it works. And they can even recreate the process if they forget, because conceptually they understand. Hello, my friends. So you have gotten an opportunity to taste some of the unique strategies of the Professor B program. What do you think? Let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is Molly Shaw. I discovered this program back in the 90s. I actually had the privilege of meeting Dr. Barrett, the author of the program, as I became a distributor and I was tutoring other students, and I became an educational therapist and recommended it to families. I just saw over and over again the power of this program. And when Dr. Barrett passed away and his wife decided perhaps it was time to change gears and no longer sell the product, I stepped in and asked if I could buy it. This was in 2018. And so I've continued to make it available in the original form. And because again, I'm just such a fan of this program. I'm excited for you to learn more about it. Again, there are 3 levels in the primary math. Level 1 has a textbook that is scripted, has a question and answer flow. This little thin book is about 3 school years, and it goes very quickly. Great for accelerating smart kiddos. Amazing for your average general education student who can move much more quickly through math with better understanding. This is incredible for kids who have learning differences because it is not taught in a traditional manner in the classroom. It's taught in ways that many, many, many times we see improvement with learning disabled kids that they couldn't learn math with other programs. So I really encourage you to take a look at this for all kids it helps. Level 2 is a book and a workbook. And again, the teacher is the only one that needs a textbook. So you're just buying it one time. And then there's a workbook that goes along also with level 3. And this covers everything from about K through 6th or 7th grade. We also have an algebra program, and this one has the workbook, it's just worked right into the pages, and also the keys are inside. And so I really hope that you'll look at it, take a look and see if it's right for your family. Like I said in, a previous video, you can use it for a warm-up, a conceptual warm-up if you still like a traditional program or you're using something else. I did that with mine. I have 6 kids that I homeschooled, and I used Professor B along with another program. And I had really good reasons for wanting to have 2 programs in my homeschool. I had several very learning disabled kids. But I would just encourage you. One of the things that was life-changing for me was that I was insecure about teaching math. My background was as an English teacher. I had struggled in math. I had failed out of algebra in college. I couldn't even get my degree I wanted because of my math struggles. So when it came time to homeschool my kids, I was nervous. When I realized I was working through this level 1, I was reading through the script, teaching each one lesson at a time. And I realized one day, sitting at the table in the kitchen with my kids, that I began to understand math in a way I had never seen it before. I got emotional and I started like crying. I was like, this is so beautiful. It's like this language that makes complete sense. It's just like, it really, I had to stop teaching because I was overwhelmed with something I had never fully seen or understood before. I encourage you to take a peek at this and see if it might be right for your family.